Hello everyone, my name is Dracoman and welcome back to another redstone video. In this video I'm going to be building a complex locking system which will include I think around 6 piston feed tapes that potentially could go both ways. Here's the basic concept. So if I click this button, this bottom row will shift to the left one row. If I click this button, the bottom row will shift to the right. If I click this button, this row will shift up or down. Wait, no, it'll shift downwards. If I click this button, this row or this column will shift upwards, and then it's the same with the rest of these buttons. So if I click this one, the top row will shift to the left. If I click this one, the middle row will shift downwards, and you get the point. And you have to get the correct combination of colors in order to open the door. So as you can see, this is a very, very complex and very, very difficult lock to break. Except those inputs were impossible to work with, so I'm moving them down to the floor. First, I have to build up the vertical piston feed tape, which I have done here. And so as you can see, when I press one of these buttons, say it's the far left one right here, then I want the whole thing, this whole right column, to move upwards one block. Then that will go down and activate this piston down here. Somehow I'll make that work, and that will push up, we'll actually have to fill this, that will push up this section right here. And I think this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, that's fine. So it will push up this column, which will then activate this piston, push it over here, and then this will detect it, set off both of these pistons, but it will only need to push down one block right here, and so that will come down, and then eventually it will meet this point here, which will this part here will push the block back into place from wherever it came from. And now I have set it up so that if we click any of these top 3 buttons, on the falling edge of the button, we will see this column. This corresponds with this button move upwards, as you can see right there. And if you can't see it, I can just replace that quick, and you can see that actually does move up. So that is all working, and it's not just that one. Obviously, I can move either of these as well, just like that. It all works perfectly fine, and they all end up back right here, all of the extra blocks that we're using. Now what we need to do is connect these buttons down here, which will hopefully eventually make these things go downwards. We will need to connect those somehow to these pistons right here. Really not sure how I'm going to do that. Holy cow, I just did something smart. So when I press this button, that instantly goes up, so it's no longer falling edge, which is just awesome. But then also when I click any of these buttons, only one of these redstone blocks will push forward and then activate one of these pistons down here, which will take these same observers that these row buttons are pushing downward, and it will take those observers and push them forwards this way, which will activate these, which will turn it the other way around. So as you can see, if we have a block there, we can move that up, and then we can take this button and move it back down just like that. And now that we have that done, we can start working on the other piston feed tape that's going horizontally. I'm sorry, I kind of just jumped ahead of myself. So this is how far I've gotten. I just got really excited while building this, so I just sort of built the whole thing almost. I still need to add the circuitry in. None of these buttons here work yet. Oh gosh, none of these buttons here work yet, although I did manage to get these in place. So now you can power these individually just using the quasi-connectivity, just those general kind of features there. And so the next thing we got to do is actually, hold on, we're going to move these, or not move them, just replace them with sticky pistons so that they actually do something. But now we got to connect each of these individual outputs into these pistons right here. So there were some complications with quasi-connectivity doing things I didn't want it to. So if we click this middle button, it will pull this piston down, or pull this bottom piston down, but then it will activate the middle piston, only the middle piston, and then that will do its thing. And then for the top piston, which will be this button here, we're gonna bring it up and then just power this piston here, because if we power that piston there, as you can see, it actually powers just this top piston right here. So that works just perfectly. And then for the bottom piston, which will be this button here, we'll just bring this this piece around and just fire this piston. So that should all work wonderfully. Although something that might not work so wonderfully is how fast this will go. Okay, using this mess of torches and blocks and redstone, I've created a working system. So if I click this button, this button is supposed to move this top row one block to the left. And so as you can see, if I click this button, it activates these 2 pistons, but this is the only piston I really need to fire, and so that will fire and push a block forward. and that will set off the whole round. And then if I hit this button here, what it will do is it will power these two pistons here, but it will also unpower this piston, so it will draw this bottom piston downward, fire this middle piston, and then push this bottom piston back up. And I did that so that the bottom piston didn't fire as well, and which would move the bottom 2 rows to the left instead of just the middle row. So as you can see, it does all that and then gets pushed back up into place, and then this one just fires the bottom piston. So there's all that done, and now is the complicated part, which is these things, or these buttons here. So each of these buttons needs to do is it needs to basically do the same thing that I was just doing over here, but with all this, with these pistons instead, which makes things a little bit complicated because that means I have to bring it down and around to get over here, which could potentially mean a lot of repeaters, which I really don't want it to mean that. I don't know, this is gonna be weird. Although I think I could do something interesting with some pistons and some slime and honey blocks. Ooh, I got an idea. Okay, I've come up with a system for the more complicated ones where we had to go down and around, and as you can see, I've just put up some pistons here with a long line of either slime or honey with a redstone block on the end. So as you can see, when I press, say, this button down here, we get an output down there as the bottom one, and then if I click the middle one, you can see we get a middle output, and if I click the top one, you can see we get a top output. Okay, so now all we need to do is hook up those outputs to these pistons here. Okay, and I have now done that, so let's go ahead and test it out. So this target block is right there. So if we click this button, it should move 1 block to the right, which it did, and that got filled back in. Okay, awesome. We can click it again. Okay, something got messed up because it didn't go again. Why didn't it go again? It's weird. Why didn't it go again? Okay, everything's in the right place. It should be good to go again, right? Oh, okay, it did. And we can move it back to the left again, and I know that works. And then we can move it down. We can move it to the left. This is almost like a game. This is kind of fun. And then we can move it down. We can move it to the right. Oh, this is so much fun. And it's all working perfectly. So the next thing we need to do is, since this is still a lock, we need to, make a second one of these and probably put it behind. And then we can use that one to tell whether or not it is the correct combination of colors, because it's going to be quite a few combinations, I'd imagine. Honestly, I was considering not doing it because it's just so compact in here. I didn't think I could observe anything to fire the next ones, but I've determined that I actually can, and so now I have to do it, because if I figured out that I couldn't, I didn't do it, that would be sad. But the rest of these, observing the rest of these should be actually really easy, because I could just take observations from probably right along here, and then just back right here, and probably somewhere over here. But anyways, so those are all really easy. It's the ones in the back here that I was concerned about, but I think I can still do it. Yeah, okay, I guess we're gonna go for it. We actually cannot detect it through these, because then it actually fires this twice, which we don't want to do. But we can observe these from down here, and then we can do something with this here. I don't really know what this is going to do, but let's try that. So if we hit this middle button, okay, that moves that twice. Actually, well, 4 times technically, which we don't want. So if we replace these with those, and then did something like this, that would just push up and down twice, right? Yes, okay, that's what it did. That's what we don't want. But actually, if we do this, we just keep progressing this, then what we can do is make these fire up and down once. Oh yeah, that's right, we can't do this, never mind. But we can make them face this way, and then we're able to do it. Okay, so then these should push out and then pull back, I'm assuming. Push out, pull back. Okay, yes, perfect. Now we've gotten to it, we've narrowed it down to a point where we can just take that as a pulse. And I'm assuming we can do that with these buttons as well then. We can. Okay, awesome. To be perfectly honest with you guys, I am so sorry, I just jumped ahead of myself again. But as you can see here, we have this second piston feed tape, which imitates this one. And I'm just trying to hook up the inputs and outputs now so that we can actually get this thing working and moving in sync with this one, so that when we press all of the different buttons, it moves the same blocks here as it does on here, and then we can use this to detect when it's in the correct position to open the door. Okay, that honestly felt like the most complicated thing I've done in a while, because what happened was all these three inputs here were inverted, so that this far right input was put to the far left output, which means I had to invert it again behind here. Oh gosh, I had to invert it again over here, which I did, as you can see. So it goes, the signal goes up here, through here, and then over to this side again, so it's on the right side again. And so I just had to invert it using all of this stuff right here, which is, it's not really that complicated, but it's just not quite as compact as I originally wanted it. But that's okay, because nobody's going to see this. It's in the back. So the next thing we need to do, well actually we got to test this first, because I don't know if it works. So if we say, those will pull it down, so if we put this in the middle, it should end up right here, but only if it actually works as intended. So let's go ahead and click this. As you can see, if I put something here, it will be moved down a block. And this, it was moved down 2 blocks, which means we still didn't quite shorten the pulse to just 1, which isn't good. So what we need to do, we need to fire this and then come back here really quickly. So if we hit this again, it does go twice. Oh wait, you know what? I know why actually. Here, let me fix this. Okay, I changed up the circuitry a bit and I added some extra monostable circuits, so now everything should be working just as well as I want it to. So if we put that there and click that button, actually here, let's test something else while we're doing this. Let's make sure multiple of them don't go at once. We just want one of them to go down 1 block. So if we go back here and we hit this button here, this goes down 1 block, and this goes down 1 block. Yes, perfect. Okay, awesome. And what if we did it with this one? Oh man, what are we missing this time? Because it's not working. But all of that is now finished, so now we can start working on hooking up the links to these pistons here, which will activate the sideways going piston feed tape. So those will come from probably these torches here. Not really sure how I'm going to get an output from those specifically, but I think I could work up something. And then also from these 3 torches here. This is going to be a pain. Alright, good news is we have this section of pistons in that moves everything to the right. And these are all working. I've tested it, it all works. But now what we have to do is take an observer line, or several observer lines actually, to detect these torches here, which, as you can see, I am. Well, we're just detecting down here, we're detecting this torch turning off, which is the same as this torch turning off, just in a different place. And then we're detecting those 2 torches with those 2 observers there, and that all comes out right here. So this here, this observer right here, is the first torch that you can see, the one that I'm aiming at right now. This one, this top observer, is the second torch, and this third observer is the third torch. So now what we have to do is line those up correctly, that it goes into these pistons here. Alright, now assuming I've done all that correctly, this should be the first one, which is good because we need to line that up with the top one. So all we need to do is bring it around and then turn it, and then it will go into this piston here. And then this should be the second one, and this should be the third one, with just a jumble of pistons that just basically just rotated them around, because the first one is like way at the bottom, so I needed to be over here. Second one I just brought down in the middle. Third one I had to bring around and up to this part right here. So now all we need to do is send these off with lines like these, because this is the most efficient way of doing it and the fastest way, to be frank. And then just plug it into this, and then we're good to go. Alright, assuming that we did all that correctly, which I feel like I just tend to assume that a lot, then these should individually work just as well as I want them to. So if I click the middle button, that will move everything, or the middle row to the left one, then this block should move to the left and to the center of the contraption here. So if we go ahead and click that button, then oh wait, I'm dumb. That's that's not gonna work. You know, sometimes I question my logic and my flying capabilities too. Okay, let's try that again, shall we? Yes. Okay, let's try the other buttons now. So that did exactly what I wanted it to, and this should move the bottom. Ooh. Not really sure why that happened, but this should hopefully fix it. So if we hit this button, the middle row should move to the right, which it does. Awesome. Top row, let's get that lined up as well. Nice, it does. And does the bottom row now work successfully? It does. Awesome. Okay, what about these? Do these still work even though I put all that in there? Yes, looks like it. And we'll just hit that, which did in fact work. Good. And then this button to finish off the testing. Yes. Is that it? Are we done? Well, I mean, no, we're not done. We still have to make the door and figure out where all the things are gonna go and all that. But other than that, I think we're good to go. Right? You know, as I'm building this block detector, I just realized that you actually have to have like the mind and concept of a Rubik's Cube. You have to like understand the concept of a Rubik's Cube in order to actually finish this. Because if you don't understand how a Rubik's Cube works, then it's all very confusing. Because this means that these blue blocks that I've set into the multiple piston feed tapes can actually move from this piston feed tape into this piston feed tape very easily, which means there actually might be multiple answers that one could say, I guess. It's a whole big complicated process to solve a Rubik's Cube. Never actually solved one, so I don't know why I'm building this, but it's fun and I'm enjoying myself, so why in the heck not? All we need to do is make sure that when these blocks are all in the correct places, then all of these torches will turn off, which will allow this torch to turn on and activate a door. And then if any of these blocks are out of place, then this torch will deactivate, because either any of these can turn on in order to deactivate this torch, and then the door will close. So I guess now we build the door and then connect it to that torch, and then that'll be the whole thing done. I suppose now is as good a time as ever to put the concrete colors in. Let's get on with this door. So allow me to give you the grand tour. Here is our combination lock. There is our door, which appears to be sealed, so we need to get the correct combination to open it. So let's say we hit this button and maybe this button. Does that do it? Hey, there it is. That's the combination right there. Look at that. All the different colors. Okay, maybe not all the different colors. There's obviously some other colors in here. But that is the combination. Our door is now open. We can walk through it onto our glorious balcony, which has absolutely nothing whatsoever on it. But it's a balcony and it's cool. I like balconies. And we can walk back through the door, and if we don't want anybody to open it, then heck, we can just mix it up again. And check it out. Look, it just closes up right there. Look at that. Beautiful. And then we'll just give it an extra mixing just in case. Although I just do want to remember it, so I think I'll just leave it like that, and then we'll just leave it like that. Okay, cool. But anyways, that is all I have for you today. So if you enjoyed today's video, leave a like down below. And if you really enjoyed it, then consider subscribing, because that'll help out a lot. But yeah, I'll see you next time.